All right, hi everyone. So today we are going to be looking at the Aloha tone. All right, so what's the Aloha tone, you might be asking? The term was invented actually by Salesforce and the marketing team in the US, and it really just means writing in the same informal way that you actually speak. The idea is that you're really going to try and translate your personality into the written word. And since the whole approach is going to be a lot more informal and laid back than it usually is in many business settings, your conversations with your prospects, when you do get them on the phone, will then likewise be more pleasant and actually more effective. Now, this might sound obvious, but it is the guiding principle behind the Aloha approach. We trust people when we can relate to them, when they're familiar to us in one way or another. Now, prospectors have known this technique for a long time. They call it synchronizing with the prospect. So, mirroring the speed of their speech, their vocabulary, their register, basically trying to sound like the prospect. Now, there are different elements that you can use in your prospecting email or on the phone that you can modify or sort of tweak to get that mirror effect with your prospect. So, for example, the salutation should use Dear Mr. or Mrs. or Hi First Name. The length of the message. Certain buyer personas, are used to short and sweet messages. Thinking of CEOs, directors of sales, who really appreciate and react to that brevity. How do you want to come off? Do you want to seem like a salesperson, a consultant, an expert, or somebody who's just curious and wants to help? The level of formality, the register of your sort of speech or message. And then finally, your vocabulary, using idioms or contractions, things like this. All right, so let's take a quick look at an example. Here we have the skeleton of a generic sort of first prospecting email. They all sort of more or less look like this at the beginning. Now, what we want to achieve here, and it's a little ambitious, is staying polite but natural with a Fortune 500 company. Okay, so here we have an example of this. I can read it together. Subject line, idea for HR organization at company. So, hello, Mr. and Ms. X. You came up in conversation again this morning, so I decided to get in touch. I'm sure you're in the middle of the notorious Fortune 500 frenzy with your recent hiring spree, but I'd really like to spend a few minutes on the phone with you so you can run your recruitment process at company by me. Since I'm in contact with a lot of other HR directors from enterprise companies, I've learned quite a few new techniques they've been testing for saving time and increasing efficiency in HR departments. I'd like to share these experiences with you and see if they make sense in your business context. Would you have time for a 15-minute call in the next few days? Thank you in advance for your response. Okay, so you can see already that the tone here tries to strike a balance between familiar and formal. We're not really talking as friends, but at the same time, we don't want it to feel stuffy either. Okay, so let's break this down. Our subject line is personalized, so it does make it feel more like a one-to-one communication. Then we have our sort of excuse for getting in touch. And we'll kind of look at this technique probably in a later video. You do want to keep in mind that you might need to train up your SDRs if they aren't used to handling this kind of transition to get a prospect on the phone. So then we have this phrase, the Fortune 500 frenzy. It's just an expression that sort of helps bring down the tone a little bit to something more familiar. We did completely invent this term. It doesn't exist as far as we know, and that's perfectly fine. Just anything that's going to kind of make it seem more like a natural message. So then when we say with this recruiting spree, basically means we're personalizing the message a bit. We've targeted companies that I know have actually been recruiting lately. You have the topic, so you can run your recruitment process by me. This is, again, phrased casually enough to sound natural without sort of tipping into impoliteness or impertinence even. So again, it's the kind of note we want to hit here. Now, of course, I don't mention exactly what techniques I'm talking about. We need to keep the people reading this curious. And then, of course, we have the pain point, to save time and be more efficient. When I say I'd like to share these experiences, the implication is that it's going to be a win-win situation. Then, of course, you have the call to action. Can we find 15 minutes to chat? So we did start with the buyer persona. HR directors of quite a big company. Um, they're usually used to formal tones, formal approaches, and we were able to construct an email that really should resonate with them. We used the elements that we saw earlier, tone, register, vocabulary, personalization, to show this targeted persona that we have knowledge of their field, we're at their level, they have things they can learn from us. All of this to try and sort of hit that note to resonate with them. So this idea of being able to write how you speak is, of course, relevant for prospecting emails, but also for your marketing messages, on the sales side of things, etc. If I were to say a few things you need to sort of retain, writing how you speak isn't always easy. We often think we have to write in a very polished and correct way, but again, this can leave your emails feeling a bit stiff and stuffy. And you really want to be able to connect a bit more humanly, I guess, with your prospect. In the end, if you are able to mirror them and also hit a tone that's both friendly and informal but still polite, this is really going to set the right note for when you get them on the phone. So, of course, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact@ikosystem.com. And you can tune in next time for, what's the most efficient channel for prospecting: email, phone, or social. Thanks.